Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the City of Warrenville City Council regular meeting for December 2nd, 2019. Have a roll call, please.
Sorry. Alderman Ashour.
Here.
Alderman Berry. Here. Alderman Berry is excused. Alderman Davalos. Here. Alderman Goodman. Here. Alderman Krischel.
Here.
Alderman Widener.
Here.
Alderman Wilson.
Here. Thank you, Elaine. Would you please stand as you are able and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, staff has been working for quite a while with our consultants on a new and improved webpage. So we're going to get a presentation on that this evening to start things off. Assistant City Administrator Christina White, good evening and welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so yes, we have been working on the new website for several months now, since May of last year, or I'm sorry, May of this year. So a couple things I wanted to cover first is why we needed to redesign the website, as that may be a question that some may have. The current platform that our website is on is no longer supported by Civic Plus. That's the hosting company for our website. Actually, this month that support will end, meaning they will stop fixing any bugs that are wrong with it because it's an outdated platform and they've moved on to a new platform. So last April, we put out a survey on Facebook to try to get feedback from the public about some of the things they'd like to see with the new redesigned website. In May, the council appointed 2 elected officials, Alderman Goodman and Alderman Krischel, to participate on a work group with city staff. We've had monthly meetings to go over the design and the layout of the new website. And we've also evaluated the analytics of our current website to see some of the things that people were looking for. What are the pages that are most visited? What are the things that are most clicked on in terms of information? So the project goals included making the content more accessible and easy to find. A lot of the feedback we got was about the content. Using the search was a challenge. Trying to find things like agendas and minutes or calendar of events, even though those things were on the website, were difficult for people to find. So we wanted to make the user experience better, especially on a mobile device. That was something with the current website that was a challenge, is using it on a mobile device. So we've been working on cleaning up the content, making things more accessible at the front level of the homepage without having to click through so many times to get to information. So this page probably looks familiar to most of you that visited the website. This is still the current website until Thursday when the new one launches. And this is what the homepage looks like now. And this is what the new homepage looks like when you land on the website. A couple things to point out is the new logo. You'll recall we had our branding initiative a couple years ago where we had 3 different variations of the logo. Warrenville naturally was the promotional logo for anything marketing and promotional. We had a City of Warrenville version and just a Warrenville version. For this application, we felt the Warrenville naturally made the most sense. So that is on a banner at the top of the page. You'll also notice the menus. There's less menus at the top, 4 as opposed to the 6 that were there before. Again, we tried to look at this from the lens of when residents or businesses or people in the public are looking for information, what might they be looking for? Licenses and permits came up a lot, being able to make a payment for their water bills, looking at agendas and minutes, service requests, and construction updates were some of the more common things that people were looking for. So we highlighted those applications right at the front with these buttons. So right now we're not in an interactive site, but if we were, if you clicked on these buttons, it would take you to those landing pages. It's a simpler display, a lot more graphics, less text heavy, which you'll notice specifically when we go into the mobile version, which we'll get to next. The background pictures here are of Warrenville, and as you refresh the page, you'll see different pictures show up, and we were fortunate enough to have a couple of local residents offer to take some pictures for us and donate those pictures for our use on the website. So we're very thankful for those folks doing that because we need that information and that data in order to populate the website. So right now, this is the mobile view, which again, those of you that are looking at the website on a mobile, this is what you're seeing. It's very text heavy, lots of areas to click. When you're looking at it from the menu perspective, there's a lot of different options. which can be a bit overwhelming as to what you're looking for. With the new version, again, it's a lot simpler, a lot more pictures. These graphic buttons carry forward onto the mobile. It follows the same flow as what's on the full page of the website when you're looking at it from a computer. I think a lot easier to navigate, intuitive. Again, you'll see that when it's live and you'll be able to look at it from your mobile device. So before we get into the actual website, which I'm going to show a little bit of the features from the actual live website, or not live yet, but in production mode. Does anybody have any questions at this point?
Alderman Goodman?
Can you talk a little bit about accessibility, especially for our disabled residents? I know that people who are visually impaired have problems sometimes with websites, and our current city website isn't very accessible.
That's true. So with the new website, one of the focus items has been to make it more accessible. And one of the ways to do that is identifying documents that are PDFs by having PDF included in parentheses at the end of the document title, using the alternative text on the images so that someone using a reader can hear what that image entails and what's included in the image. Making sure that the formatting of the fonts and the text follow the ADA requirements to make it more accessible. So again, if you're visually impaired and using an application, they can pick up what's on the website. The new website is not going to be perfect right from the start because we have a lot of legacy information and historical data that has not been formatted to be compliant as of yet, but we are working towards making it more compliant with new information that's being posted. Staff will be participating in some training about how to create PDF documents or documents in general that are ADA accessible so that when we are creating new documents for the website, they are compliant with the ADA requirements, as well as looking at a possible electronic agenda platform that Civic Plus offers instead of having the PDF agendas and documents that we have for our packets, moving to a more electronic version of the agenda and packet that would be then ADA compliant because we're not using PDFs at that point.
Okay, and secondly, can you talk a little bit about the search function, because that's the complaint that I get before everything else, and as many times as I've ever talked about this website with people, when they try searching for something, the top results are not relevant, or they have to dig down several things, or they don't know what the exact name of the document that they're looking for is, or it just doesn't work very well.
So that was also another area of focus, as you know, with the website redesign group to try to handle the issues with the search function. And we did talk about that with our web team when they were developing and redesigning the new website. Essentially, they use an algorithm that when you put in a search title or name of something, whatever your document is that you're searching for, it goes by relevance. So part of the issue, as they explained it to us, is in the naming conventions that we're using to name our documents, name our pages. The other part is having a 7-year history of information is a lot for the algorithm to search through, and so it's more likely to pull information that is not more recent and current. So one of the ways that we've decided to kind of handle that from a staff perspective is to limit the amount of historical information we're keeping on the website, because essentially the purpose of the website is to provide current and up-to-date information about what's going on in the city. We have an application called Laserfiche, which most of you are probably familiar with, for historical information, historical documents, and that is accessible from the website for the public as well, for anything like resolutions and ordinances and agendas, and the backup packet material that goes with the agendas is all accessible on the website through Laserfiche. So rather than keeping it on the website where it's bogging down the search functionality, we've elected to limit the history of information on the website itself to help with that search functionality. So moving forward with the naming of documents, the naming conventions we use on the pages, using keywords when we're creating new pages, will all help to make the search functionality better.
Thank you. I know this has been a lot of work for staff, and I know that going forward, keeping the information current and keeping the information as accessible as possible is going to require even more work from the staff. So I really appreciate that, and on behalf of all the residents I've talked to about this, good luck with that going forward.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Christina? Okay, on to the next part.
Okay, so I'm actually gonna stand for this because the laptop is not cooperating. So this again is the live view of the current in production website, which will be launched on Thursday, if all goes well. Here you go. Thank you, Ben. So that you can see and I'm not in the way. All right, so again, Warrenville Naturally, that's the logo up here that's included on a banner. The drop-down menus, you'll notice we moved How Do I to the front because we thought that that's where a lot of people are going to be looking for information. How do I apply for something? How do I contact city staff or the elected officials? File a FOIA, report a complaint, view any number of documents and information that's available. Our community is what used to be resident and visiting sections of the website, so anything that's intended for our residents is likely to be found under our community. Things like the events, other partnering districts, resident services, and again, you'll notice some of the naming conventions have changed rather than water, wastewater, water and sewer, because we think that's a more consumer-friendly approach. That's what most people call their water and sewer service. Same with garbage recycling instead of refuse, and there were some other naming conventions used before for those things. So again, this is intended for residents, and we have this new resident services section under our community that's again intended for new and current residents to find information. Under city government, as you'd probably expect, you'll find the clerk pages, the elected official pages, all of the board and commissions, the departments, and public meeting information, as well as the staff directory. And then doing business is, again, where you would expect to do business with the city. So finding your permits and licenses, or development information, stormwater, all of those types of activities you'll find under the doing businesses tab. Search functionality has become more prominent in the middle of the page here, and then there's this lovely little button that takes you down to the next pieces of the page. So right now this is showing up a little blown up in a weird way. So all of these buttons are actually supposed to be on one row, and I'm thinking that has something to do with my laptop functioning not the way that it should, but you get the point. Essentially everything is intended to be more graphic, more easy to find. These buttons are all interactive. So again, agendas and minutes, if you're looking for that page, will take you right to the agenda center, where you can find all of the current agendas and minutes by every type of board, commission, council, and committee. And it's going back, generally back to 2018 at this point. Once we get into the early part of next year, that'll go 2020 and 2019 only. So it will be launching on Thursday afternoon. Assuming all goes well, it should be live at that point. Any other questions or anything in particular you'd like to see?
Alderman Weidner.
Yeah, I really appreciate the design and look and feel of the website. Some of the other websites I've been on, they always seem to have a contact us statement with a phone number, and I didn't see that anywhere on the site. And I know some websites are very stringent about that, where they have it at the bottom of every page on the website, just so that anytime people are utilizing the website, they can give a call.
Great question. So at the bottom of the homepage, we have general contact us information, and we've included both City Hall, the public meeting address, which, as you know, City Hall has two separate addresses, so that's sometimes confusing for visitors. So we wanted to call out that the main City Hall business address is the Manning address. That's where you'll find finance and community development for most of the general day-to-day needs. And then the public meeting space being the Stafford address. We also have the police department contact information and hours here. On each page, department page, on the right-hand side is additional contact information that is specific to that department. So it's even broken down further by type of category or issue that you're looking for, and who's the responsible party for that on the subpages. In addition to that, there is a contact us here that will take you to the staff directory. And You can get phone numbers for each specific department. If you click on these links, it'll break it down further to the individuals within those departments and their specific contact information.
Thank you. That didn't seem like it was apparent right off the bat. Is that something that you scroll in order to
Yes,
get
so-
to?
From the home page, which if you don't know, if you click on the Warrenville Naturally logo, it will always take you back to the home page. So if you get lost somewhere, that's a good place to refresh and restart. And you scroll to the bottom of the page, which again, it's showing up a little odd here, but it's right at the bottom of the home page.
And is there a opportunity to get directions too? I see that you have view map for City Hall, but I just wonder whether there's any kind of link or anything like that that would give an outsider
There is.
directions. Great.
So if you click on the link, it will take you to a Google Map view of 28 West 701 Stafford, which is not the right one, so I'm glad you asked for that, because that should be the Manning address, and we will get that corrected before Thursday.
I'm here for you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. That's very good.
Well done, Christina. We're excited at the prospect here of this working more smoothly and being a better vehicle for the folks out there to get a hold of us when they need to. So thanks for your hard work on it.
Thank you.
I'm sure there will be a certain process of debugging as we move forward, so
There certainly will.
stay strong.
Thank you.
Very good. We'll move on then to citizens' comments for this evening. We have a number of folks who have signed up. I see we have a camera in the back of the room. That can't be good news. Christina, are we still having difficulties with our broadcasting?
Yes, we are. So, very funny story, but we tested it this morning. It's funny to me because this is an ongoing saga, but we tested it this morning. Everything was working. Came in at 6:15 and 3 of the 4 cameras decided not to turn on. So we do have one camera at the back of the room that is broadcasting live to Channel 10 and recording at this time. We also have our management analyst, Kristen Youngmeyer, in the back of the room playing video photographer tonight for us. So she's doing the backup just in case. But we are recording and we are going live right now to Channel 10.
Okay, great, thank you. Add to that, John? No? Good? Okay. We'll move on then to citizens' comments. Many of you have been here before. We would just ask that you be respectful to everyone in the room and treat others as you would be treated. Say your piece. You're welcome to say whatever's on your mind this evening, as always. We have quite a few folks, so I'll probably do it maybe 3 names at a time so we don't get a long list. We would ask you also to try to limit to the informal limit of 3 minutes. I'm not going to cut you off or anything, but there are a lot of folks who want to say something, so say what you have to say, and it's okay to say, I agree with everything that's already been said, if that's the case. So we'll start off with these 3 folks, and please give your name and your address when you come up. Bob Rawls, Maureen Rawls, and Matt Melarek. I think I got it right.
Bob Rawls, 29W 465 Albright Street. I've come here because I know there's supposed to be an important vote tonight on the marijuana issue. And I just want to reiterate or get you to think that how important this vote is to the city. It's going to really give direction to the city, whether you vote for or against it. Personally, I'm against it. I don't think it's going to add any value to our city. The families who live here, the families who want to make this their home. Selling marijuana in DuPage County, being probably the only town that will allow it, is not what I want to see Warrenville do. Of course, there's always something that interests the government. That's a new source of taxes. But as all of you have read in the packets that my wife and I delivered here, each alderman and the mayor received a packet, showed the information that was and experiences that towns in Colorado and all those other places had, it actually ended up costing them more than what they were taking in. Right now, the taxes is an unknown figure, but I say it's too high anyway. I'm just asking that the city council use good, proper judgment and see what would the cost be if it was approved. Please use good judgment. Remember, we want to make Warrenville a family town. We don't want to make it known as some sleazy town. Thank you.
Maureen Rawls, 29W465 Albright. Thank you. I agree with everything my husband said, and I hope you received that packet. It was from the Illinois Family Institute, which had some very, information that was documented, so it's some real good facts for you to take a look at. As we left the meeting a couple weeks ago, Bob made the comment to me, if Warrenville gets this license to sell marijuana, are we gonna become a Pottersville? I don't know if any of you are familiar with that movie. It comes out sometimes around the Christmas season, and it's called It's a Wonderful Life. And it's a movie that was released after World War II, and it became a classic Christmas favorite by many people. It's a story of a common and a good man named George Bailey, played by Jimmy Stewart, who becomes overwhelmed by life's trials and is thinking his only way out is to end his life. Without going into detail, George Bailey does not end his life, and he's given the opportunity to see what his town, Bedford Falls, would have looked like if not for the good deeds that he had done over the years. The difference is remarkable. Instead of Bedford Falls, a family-friendly, wholesome community, it became a seedier town with establishments that promote people's vices. It is called Pottersville, not Bedford Falls, named after the owner of the bank, Mr. Potter, whose main priority is how much money he can make. Your decision whether Warrenville will sell marijuana is going to have a great impact on Warrenville. We need the good men and the good women of our council, our elected officials, to stand up and to keep Warrenville a family-friendly community. Our image and our property values are going to be affected if we become known as the seedier community. Wheaton, West Chicago, Naperville, many others, their elected officials have already stood up and said, we want a family-friendly and a wholesome community. The people of Warrenville deserve the same thing. Thank you.
My name is Matt Malrich. I'm a resident here. First thing I want to say is I keep hearing about family, using this family, we want to be a family town as kind of a tool. Certainly, I know people do this often, but there are plenty of vices that are available in Warrenville at any pharmacy or any liquor store that will tear apart families. So let's get that out right away, okay? So we're not strangers to family challenges. I'm here for, I am staunchly supporting the sale of cannabis in this town. There are plenty of health benefits. Many of you might not be sick, or maybe not have even known anybody who has been sick, who has needed the drug. I know medical marijuana is already legal. There are a lot of people who have illnesses that are borderline that don't qualify, and this drug will help them in a nice, natural way. I wanted to also say that if we're gonna ban the sale here, then we also need to immediately ban the sale of alcohol and opioids, legal opioids. Those things need to be done today if we decide not to go through with this. Thank you. The other thing I wanted to bring up was I'd like our officers to work in this town, to work with the community, to start curbing violent crime. I'm sick of people being thrown in jail for things like selling cannabis. Absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. It's a harmless substance, and our police officers could be using their talents in a way that helps curb violent crimes. So we need to stop using misinformation campaigns. I, as well as the previous people who have spoken, would hope that you guys do your proper research as well. I think that's really important. Let's actually look at the numbers. Let's look at Colorado. Let's look at states like Washington and Oregon and see how the sale of marijuana has helped bring down violent traffic accidents that relate to alcohol and things of that nature. And so I would like to look at this in a way where we can say, I can see forward. Let's look forward in 5 years. I have the hunch that many of the people here who would like to opt out in 5 or 10 years after this passes will look back at this day and maybe even see my face and say, he was right. My heart has changed. I've warmed up to it. It's not as bad as I originally thought. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, folks. Philip Evison, Annette Voss, and Bob Siebert.
Hello, my name is Philip Evison, 2S758 Timber Drive. I've attended as many of these meetings as I can and have really enjoyed learning how local government works. I never took much interest in these types of events until this topic came up. I want to start off by saying I've been very vocal on the subject online, and from my observation, a majority of Warrenville residents do support opting in. I've reached out to a lot of people privately to convince them to come to these meetings and speak. Many people have said while they do support opting in, they did not feel comfortable speaking on this topic in public due to their jobs or for fear of being judged negatively within the community. I would like the board to not to assume that the majority that speaks here at these meetings represents the majority of the community. Again, in my opinion, based on my observations, a majority of Warrenville residents do support opting in. Secondly, I believe the basic question here is, should Warrenville support cannabis sales within the city limits? I did some research on substances that Warrenville does allow: tobacco, alcohol, and processed foods. These substances account for over 40% of deaths in the United States of America. I don't understand how Warrenville can tell the residents of this community these far more dangerous substances compared to cannabis are allowed when we are going to ban cannabis sales. I believe residents of Warrenville, as well as the surrounding communities, should be able to purchase cannabis in Warrenville the same as tobacco, alcohol, and processed foods. I don't believe it's the government's job to protect us and hold our hands. We all know the dangers of smoking cigarettes, drinking too much alcohol, and eating an unhealthy diet. I believe Warrenville should set appropriate guidelines for the sale of cannabis within city limits, the same as tobacco, alcohol, and processed foods. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Annette Voss. I'm in the Summer Lake subdivision in Warrenville. Thank you for the opportunity to again address you. I'm very concerned about this issue. I do not want Warrenville to have a dispensary or an infuser business in our city. I disagree with the previous speaker when he said that the majority of people want this and want to opt in, because I've actually gone door to door to both businesses and homes, and those people who were available to be spoken to did not want it. In large part, I would say 8 out of 10 people that I've spoken with did not want it. Everyone's busy as far as attending meetings. People on both sides of the issue are busy, too busy to come. If you truly want to have the pulse of the community, then allow this issue to be put on a referendum so that people can really be represented. The Warrenville City Code does provide that the aldermen shall be representatives of the people of their wards, at these city council meetings, and that the aldermen shall be responsible to the people of their wards and the citizens of the city for their actions at council meetings. And I would ask how many of you have polled your wards? I have flyered in both the second ward, first ward, second ward, fourth ward, and there were people there who had never even known there were aldermen. So I would ask that, how much do you know about the people that you serve? I know that you have many things to do, but this is, as you're noticing from the comments that have been made throughout these last months, this is a very passionate issue that many people are highly invested in, and it would seem very prudent that we find out what people are actually wanting. I too am concerned about the effect that this will have on our community in the long run. I feel the argument that there are other bad substances sold in our community is not a good argument for adding something more that could be detrimental to our neighborhood. I feel that we have enough issues that we are dealing with that we do not need to add any more on them. My husband has taught children in this school district for 26 years, and he has seen the evolution of the lives of these kids, and he's seen how much trouble they have to deal with at home as is now. We don't need to add more to this complex problem. And I know you're thinking, well, it'll be here anyway, so get used to it. Well, I don't want my city to profit from it being here. I do not want my city to profit from it. I've paid taxes for 21 years. I'm willing to pay an increase, as other people have said, who have said they also wish to opt out. I'm here as a long-term investor. I wanted to live the rest of my life in Warrenville. If this goes in, I can't say that I will. In fact, that's one of my first thoughts, is that I may not. And that saddens me. And so I'm not here for my own benefit. I'm here for the benefit of others that would potentially come after me here. Also, I want to say that I'm concerned, just as the second speaker, who said, are we going to make a decision that's going to lead us to Pottersville? So interesting that she thought that same thought. I thought of that when I considered what has happened in Pueblo, Colorado. I looked at the fact that in the early 2000s, it was ranked in the top 20 cities in the United States to live in. And by 2018, it was the 17th worst city in the United States, according to a Wall Street report. And I took a look because I wanted to know. I've never visited there, but I wanted to know what people were really saying about their town. So I looked on niche.com, and it says there were several multiple concerning reports of people who have lived there a long time and have seen a drastic change in the place that they loved. And I see myself in that. I don't want to see myself in that. I'm pleading with you, as so many of us have, to please allow our town to stay as it is. I'll just read a couple of these because they're very, very poignant. There's one that says, my favorite aspect about Pueblo, Colorado is that it is not a small town. It's also not a big city. It's somewhere in between. It's the perfect size for me. But my least favorite aspect about Pueblo, Colorado is the crime. Recently, I've read more and more articles about shootings, gang-related activities, drugs, thieves. At one part of town where I used to live, I would occasionally hear gunshots. Drug use and smoking is very common at the high school that I'm attending. And then there's another person who says, the Pueblo is a small town rich in history, but poor in every other way. There are some amazing people here, but far more drug use here. That's the reason that it's so cheap to live here now. And it goes on and on. I could read many of them to you, but I know you don't have time. But what I'm asking is that you please consider that we don't need to be rushed by this false time frame that the state of Illinois is dictating to us to decide by. We can say, not for now. We're not going to do this until we know more, till we speak to our constituents, maybe until we get a referendum on the books. We can choose those things now before these changes are made to the detriment possibly of our citizens. Please consider that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bob Siebert, Albright Court. I think the first statement is, if there were no taxes, this issue would not be discussed, because you're trying to offset an unhappy situation of a drug with revenue. And you can't offset that. The $600,000 that the city says they could receive, how much pot would you have to sell to receive this? $12 million annually. That's $1 million a month. If it's sold 6 days a week, that's $42,000 a day. If each individual spent $100, that would be 420 people coming in every day, 6 days a week, to buy this. If it was only $50 a person, that would be 840 people every day, 6 days, coming in to purchase this. If it's 7 days a week, the numbers shift down to $34,000 a day, 340 people at $100 a person, 680 at $50 a person. Now, you stated that this could be in Family Foods Shopping Center. How are you going to protect Family Foods, the other businesses that are there with this quantity of automobiles? How are you going to protect the citizens, the shoppers who are coming to these shops to spend their money to help Family Foods stay here with all this other commotion? You haven't looked at that. I didn't see anything from the Plan Commission that said, we're gonna have so many parking spots for this. There wasn't any. But when we put Twin Peaks in, we made them go to the theater to get additional parking spots. But here, we have a situation with people coming maybe from out of town, maybe not looking to go food shopping, but trying to get a quick high. They don't care about the people that live in Warrenville. They don't care about us. They care only about that high. We've got a huge amount of people that are gonna be coming in here. If it's a 6 or 7 day, you've got about 2,500 people a week. How many more police officers is a chief gonna need? How's he gonna protect people that are unhappy?